Trump is counting on us.
Wait, what?
Trump is counting on us.
Did Republican Congressman Emmer really say?
Trump is counting on us.
Okay, he did. Well, if it is true that President whatever is counting on Republicans, it is also true that President is counting on conservative media. But now, amidst the market crashes, Fox News has been abandoning the president.
People, business leaders are saying to me, why are we doing this?
Thursday was the worst day for stocks since March 2020, and very early this morning, prices were falling again.
And when I bring up the issue of clarity, that's what I'm talking about, and that's what I'm hearing from corporate America, that we're not sure where this is going.
In Trump's recent black tie speech to congressional Republicans, Trump insisted his tariffs would generate cash for the U.S. government.
China will now pay a big number to our Treasury. This is all taxes.
But that's not true. It's not taxes paid to the Treasury, as even Fox and Friends is pointing out.
There's an item in the New York Post that we all have in front of us. It's an exclusive story, and it talks about how with these 104% tariffs that went into effect, we think that China is going to have to pay for it, but it tells a story of a special needs toy importer. And when the tariffs went into effect at midnight, his tariff, he's been paying a tariff because he gets stuff from China, $26,000 a year. His tariff bill went from $26,000 at midnight to $346,000. And that's money going to have to come out of his pocket. It sounds like he's going to have to go ahead and close down part of his business.
The Trump trade war is shutting down U.S. businesses. And the criticism is not just coming from Fox News hosts. Several guests have been invited on Fox in recent weeks who keep declaring that Trump has shocked and broken an economy that was doing fine.
This big, beautiful economy that actually was rolling pretty good with jobs and inflation coming down feels more like the Game of Thrones Red Wedding. I mean, it is not going well. This is being executed poorly. His economic advisors are being intellectually dishonest. Trade wars are bad. Tariffs are a tax. Consumer prices are not going down. We're 70% a consumer-driven country. So building a moat around the United States with protectionist and isolationist economic policies are not positive. And this isn't me saying it. This is JP Morgan, 60% chance of a recession.
The CEO of JP Morgan is Jamie Dimon. Here he is on this day on Fox Business News.
Do you personally expect a recession?
I am going to defer to my economists at this point, but I think probably that's a likely outcome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because markets, I mean, when you see a 2,000 point decline, it sort of feeds on itself, doesn't it? Because it makes you feel like you're losing money in your 401k, you're losing money in your pension. You got to cut back.
Yeah. I always remind people markets aren't always right, but sometimes they are right. And I think this time they are right because they're just pricing in uncertainty at the macro level and uncertainty at the micro level, at the actual company level. And then how it affects consumer sentiment, it's hard to tell. Consumers still have jobs. Wages are going up at the low end, which I think is a good thing. But if companies start cutting back, yeah, the consumer sentiment changes.
Consumer sentiment or consumer confidence impacts about 70% of all U.S. economic activity. When consumers are optimistic and feel good about their finances, their spending increases and the economy grows. When consumers are pessimistic and feeling anxious about their finances, they pull back on spending and the overall economy stalls. Consumer sentiment is also a crucial factor in approval ratings for incumbent politicians. And more Republicans than ever are speaking out and distancing themselves from the Trump tariffs. Here's Louisiana Republican Senator John Kennedy on MSNBC.
With tariffs, an eye for an eye just leaves both people blind. When a government imposes a tariff, it's putting its thumb on the scale. It interferes with people's freedom to exchange goods and services.
Still, Donald Trump is pledging to add tariffs to something often produced overseas that literally keeps millions of Americans alive: prescription drugs.
But we're going to tariff our pharmaceuticals, and once we do that, they're going to come rushing back into our country because we're the big market. The advantage we have over everybody is that we're the big market. So we're going to be announcing very shortly a major tariff on pharmaceuticals. And when they hear that, they will leave China, they will leave other places.
But industry experts say that pharmaceutical production, leaving China and other places immediately and coming to the U.S., is a pipe dream. Establishing new factories and hiring workers in the United States takes a while. And if companies think the Trump tariffs are temporary or will not last, the companies will not risk the hefty costs associated with moving. As it stands, about 2/3 of brand name drugs and about 80% of generic drugs are manufactured outside the United States. So when tariffs are placed on pharmaceuticals, the U.S. government and American patients will pay more. Genius. Oh, and by the way, Americans already pay much more than Europeans for the same medicines. To be clear, Donald Trump still has his cheerleaders in conservative media and throughout the Republican Party. House lawmaker James Comer of Kentucky says simply that he trusts Donald Trump on everything, including trade.
This is what it's all about, getting America back on a level playing field. It's going to take a few bumps in the road. That's where we are now, but I have confidence that President Trump will deliver.
But by all accounts, Donald Trump's market crash and the general economic anxiety he has created is not making things very easy for Republicans. And Democrats are having a field day portraying Trump as incompetent, reckless, and out of touch. Recently, in between market crashes, Trump traveled to one of his clubs in Florida and spent the weekend golfing.
He decided that he was going to golf as the markets were tanking. He decided he was going to golf instead of receiving 4 heroes who died serving this country. He has decided that he wanted to play games while the rest of us are really trying to make sure that we can serve the American people.
Polls show the American people are infuriated with Trump's handling of the economy, and so the pressure is on. Republicans are speaking out, and Fox News is amplifying the GOP anxieties.
I do want to give a word of warning. There are voices in the administration that rather than take a deal are saying we want to have tariffs as a long-term permanent feature of the economy. I think that'd be a mistake. If a year from now our trading partners have all jacked up tariffs on America and we have high tariffs on everyone, I think that'll hurt this country.
It will hurt this country economically, and it will bury Republicans politically. In other words, the people and groups that President Trump is counting on are extremely nervous. And this includes Fox News. By the way, Donald Trump Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt recently tanked the U.S. stock market in real time simply by talking about it.
Countries are falling over themselves to reform their unfair trade practices and free open their markets to our country. Why? Because these countries greatly respect President Trump and the sheer power of the American market. These countries realize they've gotten filthy rich over the past few decades by imposing substantial tariffs on American-made products and ridiculous non-monetary barriers to block out American industry. The jig is up. Past American presidents sat by and let this happen, but President Trump stood up for our country, and he is saying no more.
Check out that video at the link below. It generated a lot of comments on YouTube. One of the most popular is from Dragonfly, who wrote, "How can someone so brazenly ignorant represent anyone?" I hear you. I look forward to reading your comments about Fox News abandoning Trump as the economy implodes. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.